Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Day 2 of the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships. I am Piggy Fatness, and I am joined by Chip Queso.
Great to be here. Day number 2 here in North Richland Hills, just outside of Dallas, Texas, NYTEX Sports Center. Yesterday, a full plate of action, narrowing down to today's 2 early semifinals. Piggy, I couldn't be more excited. The home crowd is excited.
Absolutely. It has been a fantastic weekend so far, and these 2 semifinals, Chip, that we're talking about will begin with this first bout of the day, which will feature Your Mom Men's Derby taking on our hosts this weekend, Texas Men's Roller Derby, Texas Outlaws. They're punching their ticket to the final in this first bout of the day.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, since they are the number 3 seed playing the number 2 seed, we're going to quickly go through the lineups. I'll start with Texas Men's Roller Derby, the Texas Outlaws. Number 00, Matomic. Number 151 is The Enabler. Number 26 is Echoberry Jam. 28 is Dr. Feelgood. Number 303 is El Nino. Number 32 is Kyle Divers. 4 is Tip. Number 505 is Nick Pusher. Number 57 is Turbo. Number 6 is G.I. Joel. Number 66 is Rubio. 68 is Diamond. 81 is Larry Hopper. And number 9 is Rhino.
And for Your Mom Men's Derby, number 10, Rollamite. 100 is Scott Slamilton. Number 11 is Bobblehead. 12, Nick Becker. 18, Michael C. 19, Corey Payne. 27, Chuck Taylor. Number 3 is Peter Pan. 311, Unicorn Logjam. 379, Kamakanje. 39 is Cleveland Stever. 430 is Scooter. 62, Mr. E-Machine. 8, Coulter. 88, Just Mike. And number 9, Frank Not So Hatra.
So yesterday's action, both these 2 teams waited till kind of the second round, if you will, in the sense that there were 2 play-in games to feed in. Your Mom defeated Southern Discomfort 201 to 105. Texas Men's played Puget Outcast. They won 260 to 125. That puts number 2 and number 3 and Piggy. Here we go.
Here we go, indeed. First jam featuring Rollamite for Your Mom and Dr. Feelgood for Texas Outlaws.
Rollamite up front quickly. 2 up front to hold. In the back, Dr. Feelgood stuck with a 4-wall pack. Big knockout there by, looks like it was by Tip. No, I'm sorry, number 32.
That's Kyle Divers with that hit, but now he's reporting to the penalty box.
So, big hit is a penalty, but it caused Rollamite to get back. However, he still makes it through. First lead jam goes to Your Mom.
Dr. Feelgood completing his initial pass. Rollamite makes the pass, picks up the points, and calls it off.
So quick 4 points on the board for Your Mom. I'm not sure we're going to expect too many double-digit jams, point-scoring jams in this contest. And if they do, it's going to be up to the other team to make those quick adjustments, because any double-digit scores could lead to a stretch of the score that team needs. So
it will be interesting to see what the pacing is on both these teams. First jam was fast. Now we'll see what happens as we have El Nino on the line for Texas.
We did not see a penalty on Rollamite at the end of that, so this is actually a power jam for El Nino. Last year, you knew El Nino skated for Bridgetown Menace. This year, he's moved to Central Texas and playing with the Texas boys. Again, we did not see that infraction for Rollamite. He is now standing in the penalty box, but power jam continues. No power jam, Piggy, as of yet.
Action continues as we are still in the straightaway between turns 4 and 1. El Nino still trying to get past that initial wall by Your Mom.
Penalty on Your Mom, blockers, so they are down. Blockers, no lead jam has been established. No, a lead jam and a cut has been established, so we've got a power jam second on Rollamite in this second jam, and now final El Nino lead jammer as we are 1 full minute in, Piggy.
One of the hardest hitting minutes of this tournament, and El Nino now looking to score. Pace of the pack increasing, but it's now at a stall at turn 4.
Texas holding a goat. Number 19 there. El Nino gets through, ends that, and we've got, no, it is a penalty, a blocking with the head. Rotation. We're going to finish out this 40 seconds in this jam.
This number of seconds with Rollamite on the track is an immense amount of time, so we'll see what he can do.
Remember, it's still Rollamite has on his initial pass, so Nino's on a scoring pass, has points. As I say that, Rolomite gets through, quickly approaching El Nino with about 15 seconds left on the clock.
Rolomite looking for the outside. El Nino gets knocked out, has to be recycled back.
Direction of play, penalty called on a blocker who hasn't left. That would be Larry Hopper for Texas Men's. And 5 points awarded to Texas. And 2, Piggy, it looks like, for your mom.
All right, so we are 2 jams in. Want to take a moment to say thank you to some of our sponsors, beginning with Adam Skates, Jackson Elite, and Competitor Boots are what they're talking about here. Great hybrid boot with microfiber and leather, heat moldable, reinforced toe, and they're available in a men's width. Available for every level of skater, Adam Skates.
Echoberry Jam, first rotation for Texas. Miss Scott Slamilton, who is the lead jammer for your mom, had pretty good success yesterday, then got a little penalty trouble. Made some good jams at the end. Now back here against Texas this morning.
Nice little juke move there by your mom. That is Scott Slamilton with a pass, putting up 5.
Scott with a smooth backwards pass all the way around as his pack squeezed Texas to the inside, gave him that lane available. Now he's on another scoring pass. Meanwhile, Echoberry, Piggy, has yet to get through the pack.
He was just about through on that outside line, but took a huge hit and recycled back. That 3-wall by your mom is formidable, but here are the Outlaws to try to break it up.
Another penalty being called. Echoberry goes down, slides through the infield, gets back up in play. Another penalty on Texas men, each with a blocker in the box. Chuck Taylor in the box for your mom. We got a 5-point pass, Biggie.
During this jam, Just Mike has had Echoberry Jam's number. He's knocked him out 3 times as he's tried to make his way through the pack.
Finally let him through as they receive a direction of play penalty, but this is his initial pass as Scott Stamilton has 1 more to get past in the pack on 1 skate, 2 hands down. That's out. You got to go back around. Larry Hopper for another penalty.
Lots of action going on in this jam, and we're only 3 in. Scott Slamilton went down on the outside, but was quick to get back up. And Echoberry Jam puts up 4 on that last pass.
Echoberry's had to work so very hard as one of the youngsters for this team. He has made his way into the rotation. Now he's in probably the biggest game of his career.
Absolutely.
It took him more than a minute to get through, but he stayed with it, got through, got 4 points. Hard fought. He's learning as he goes. Good job for Adam. But Texas down 9-21 currently to your mom.
Our next jam is getting set to go for your mom. We have Mr. E Machine. For the Texas Outlaws, jamming will be Rufio. Rufio, his first bout here this weekend, and gets lead jammer right off the line.
And you can see why he's been inserted to it. Now, you may also know he's got a wrapped left ankle from an injury earlier this week, but he looks like he is on top of his game. Spoke to him earlier this weekend, and he is definitely ready to go. And with this lead jam, it shows. Big push out there by Texas, number 9. That's Rhino, forcing Mr. E-Machine all the way back, Piggy.
Rhino has been a machine this weekend. Right now, though, your mom doing a number on Rufio with some very nice blocking, 2-wall up front.
Although Rufio in control, Mr. E-Machine through. This is his initial pass, so a little bit more time for Rufio, and one of the players fell right on Rufio's leg. And it looks like he is actually being sent off for a track cut penalty. So power jam for your mom.
At this point, we'll see what your mom can do with this 30 seconds. We've got a forearm penalty that's been assessed on Texas. That is Tip heading to the box.
Then a penalty on Larry Hopper. That is his 3rd penalty, 4th because he got an insubordination for talking to the ref and not exiting quick enough. So the penalty box now full for Texas. Mr. E-Machine, meanwhile, gets through. Piggy, Texas is going to have to stop this bleeding very quickly.
Absolutely too critical a moment for this to be occurring this early in the bout. Your mom in control and confident. Rufio back on track.
Rufio is laboring from that player that fell on him earlier. Hopefully he's going to be okay, but he is still having to work in this jam. It's knocked to the inside by Chuck Taylor, number 27. Recently, this year earlier, playing for Tampa, now with your mom.
It seems like every stride Rufio takes, he's favoring that left leg. But he's still in there fighting as this jam comes to a close.
G.I. Joel sent to the penalty box there at the end of the half. Texas says it is time to time out, 39-13. We need to correct things.
We've got 3 jams in, and we've got 8 penalties on the Texas Outlaws. That is not where they want to be at this point. So this timeout, very well timed, Chip, as they've got to get that frenetic feeling under control. They're going to be able to get back into this quickly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you look at the point penalties. Nino with 1 as a jammer. Rufio as 1 as a jammer. G.I. Joel now with 2. Nick Punisher with 1. But Larry Hopper, one of the keys to their defense, with 4 early penalties. We know Larry very well. We love him very much. He's going to need to control it to maintain what he needs to do for the rest of this bout.
He has been key in the games that they've played this weekend, and so we're going to keep a close eye on that. Your mom at this point with the control of the board, 39-13, 21 minutes, 56 seconds. Hard to believe so much has happened in such a little bit of time, Chip.
Seems like we've already finished a half and into the second, but with the amount of action, that's exactly, Piggy, what we expected to see. Again, the number 2 and the number 3 seed, they know each other well. You're in Texas's home space. They're going to have to make that adjustment. We'll see what they did there at that timeout. 39-13, just under 22 minutes to go.
For your mom, it is Rolomite. For Texas, it is the enabler.
Rolomite gets through real quick, falls down to all fours, gets caught back up, and then makes a push to the sternum of Dallas and gets that lead jammer through.
Your mom had every body they could on the enabler. He was able to complete his initial pass.
Fast pack. In fact, it's a micro pack, 2-on-2. Rolomite easily getting through as that is spread out. Larry Hopper coming in. And that's the end of that jam. High-speed jam there.
Absolutely. Such energy here in this venue. And for the moment, Chip, they've taken the Texas crowd out of it. But I know, and you and I both know, how explosive this Outlaws team can be. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next few minutes develop. Official timeout has been called on the track. I want to take a moment to say thank you to more of our sponsors here this weekend at the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships. Pro Design Inc. has been making protective products since 1986 and has everything for your protective needs. Make sure you go to www.prodesign.com and check it out. All right, and yeehaw from Texas. Also want to say thank you to Left Turn Clothing. Derby owned and operated. They provide high quality athletic apparel for men and women. They are where fashion meets function. Left Turn Clothing.
Well, with clock at 21:03 right now, a tale of 43-13 the score. We've got 5 jammers for Texas, but 0 lead jams for them. Meanwhile, a 4-jammer rotation for your mom, and they've had 3 lead jams there. So Texas is also going to have to correct, because if you don't get lead jam, most likely you're not going to win the bout. So that is a definite key. And with that larger rotation, they're going to have to find that jammer that makes it happen.
That is what they're looking for as we get set for our next jam. Your mom sending out Scooter. For Texas, it is Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood making his first appearance on the line and is able to scoot through on the outside. Lead jammer, Texas in control.
Beautiful footwork. He was stuck on his left toe stop, gets hits on his left leg, but then hops and stays on his left toe stop to stay in. Amazing footwork, and no wonder he's also on Team USA.
Absolutely. Your mom doing a good job of trying to get Feelgood out, but he's able to stay in, picks up 5.
Yeah, one hand down, and we've seen so much this weekend. The men are able to keep that one hand and stay up, which keeps them in bounds. And he gets through, 5-point grand slam. So that is a big score for Texas, and maybe a small momentum shift as they cut it to a 20-point difference.
Assisting in this process are the penalties that are occurring for your mom. 5 more points on the board for Feelgood in Texas. 15 points, and just as we said, the explosiveness of this Texas Outlaws team coming into play.
Now they've got Larry Hopper back in there having to play a little bit more controlled. He does not get a track cut. That is a no pass, no penalty.
You can almost sense the relief of Feelgood as he made that pass.
But he only gets 1 point,
right, exactly.
But still,
it's about staying on the track.
Oh, 12 comes in, and that is a huge back block on Dr. Feelgood, and then another penalty on number 88 for your mom, hitting Dr. Feelgood as seemingly as he was down.
Feelgood has been knocked out. He takes a step, is going to reset to be careful. Toe stops right inside that line.
Initial pass for your mom, Scooter, but in control is Dr. Feelgood. Now G.I. Joel sent to the penalty box. That's his third, and quickly calling it off. Astutely aware, as tired as he looked, call it off in time.
21 points for the Texas Outlaws, and right back to a 9-point differential after what looked to be a your mom dominant first half.
And you can hear in the ambient background the crowd may now be back into it.
I believe you are correct. So we're going to set for our next jam, and this will feature, well, we're waiting for the lineups to get fully set.
That's El Nino for Texas, number 303. And it looks like that is number 10 for your mom, from our vantage point. That's Rolomite. Well, that's not, I'm sorry,
Actually,
that's Scott Slamilton.
Yeah, Scott Slamilton.
100, not, I missed a zero.
Yeah. So we have an official timeout on the track. And one of the things that really occurred over the last two jams, Chip, is your mom picked up quite a few penalties. Blocker penalties, had them down to a one blocker on that last jam as one was waiting in the queue. And again, that made all the difference because with someone like Feelgood, he's going to score and score quick, and that's what we saw happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But now what Texas has got to do is they've got to go, we were down by this much. We worked our way within 10 points. 10 points is nothing.
Right.
Now we've got to keep that momentum going. We cannot allow your mom to come in and set up and create that havoc that they were doing earlier.
This choice of El Nino, I think, is a good one. He's such a tough forward pushing player. He uses that strength, and we'll see if he's going to try to blow something out here.
Well, and of course, your mom is happy to have Scott Slamilton, a newer face to their squad as well, and becoming a prime jammer for him. Nino quickly up front to hold, and he makes that way, tiptoes around, lead jammer, Texas men's.
He lowered that shoulder, pushed forward, and danced on the inside line to get the pass. Beautifully done.
Meanwhile, we've got a penalty on number 8 for your mom. 88, excuse me, that's just Mike.
Both jammers now getting recycled backwards, but the call still belongs to El Nino and the Outlaws.
And a track cut penalty on El Nino, excuse me. Scott Slamilton through still his initial pass, 3-on-1 advantage with one more blocker for your mom coming in, but Texas has the advantage.
Scott Slamilton, though, great footwork. He does get pushed out and picks up a forearm penalty. That's going to send him to the penalty box. So, again, great things happening for both teams. The penalties bringing them to a grinding halt.
Right as he got sent off, you could hear Matomic say, bye, really loud. Not a lot of love lost for these two teams, needless to say.
It creates for some great drama, and right now we only have 9 points between these two teams as they continue to battle out this jam.
Nino's picked up the speed, and when he's pushed Carton with everybody that fast, you cannot stop him. He gets through for 5 more points. Big hit from Matomic. No, I'm sorry, number 32. That's Kyle Divers on the jammer. Simulton has to re-engage in the back. Texas got 3 wall brace with 1 floater. El Nino goes all the way down flat on his belly. Player falls over him, and that is the most unfortunate penalty that is a penalty. Nonetheless, power jam for your mom.
Indeed. We'll see what your mom will do in these final few seconds as we have an injury on the track.
Not good sign. G.I. Joel down on the track grasping his right knee. Hopefully he will be just fine. We appreciate our EMTs here keeping everyone safe.
Indeed.
And of course, the venue now quiet as G.I. Joel, such an integral part of the team. Not only that, he played every single jam, or at least 95 of them, with Mexico.
Yes, he
when
did.
He played in the World Cup.
I had the pleasure of calling those bouts for Team Mexico, and he indeed was the heart and not just the heart and soul. There were many of the players that were, but he was just such a unique part of that process. for that team.
And even another personal experience is when Texas comes and plays my home team, my Austin Anarchy. They brought Mexico that one time. He played with Texas against my team, and then he switched colors and played Mexico against my team.
Yeah.
So tough to see G.I. Joel, but hopefully he is being taken care of and will be okay.
Well loved in the community. We'll give you guys updates as we receive them. Right now, though, Chip, where we stand, 47-44, 3 points separating these two teams. It's a tale of basically 2 7-minute periods. 7 minutes in, your mom is up by 30. A couple of key penalties and a very, very crucial timeout taken by Texas, and they have been a different team since that timeout.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we've got 3 jammer penalties to your mom, 2 for Rolomite, 2 for Scott Slamilton. We've got 3 jammer penalties for El Nino, one of which was that low block when you're flat on your back. Nothing you can do about it, but again, it is a penalty. And then another one by Rufio. So not a whole lot of jammer penalties, but the problem with jammer penalties is when they occur.
Exactly.
And that's exactly where we've seen some of the turn and score here as well.
Indeed. As we look at jammer points so far, Scott Slamilton leading, actually tied with Mr. E-Machine for your mom for 18 points. 21 points for Dr. Feelgood makes him the leading scorer for the Texas team in what was really the game-changing, or at least period-changing jam that occurred when he came off that line and put up 21 quick points.
Correct. And we get the applause as he's standing up. They have removed his skates, but he is standing on his own accord. Somebody has brought some assistance, but it looks like he is walking off on his own accord, so that is good news. Hopefully he will work that out and be able to get back. Of course, he has to sit out some jams here since the EMTs came out, but the main thing is that he is better now.
Right.
So with that being said, and with Rufio earlier limbering just a little bit, 2 key cogs for their machine, if you will, this is where the true heart of a team comes through.
Indeed.
You have your lineup, things happen, doesn't matter. You can't let it affect you and sit on your laurels. You have to find some way. Some other people have to step up.
Absolutely. Your mom knows what it is to play at this level. They have dominated the Men's Roller Derby Association scene, but in the last couple of years, teams like Texas have come up and have really, really made us showing. But at this point, if we talk about experience level, your mom definitely has the dominant amount of time in terms of experience of playing at this level. So we'll see what they do to change the tide here, as Texas has really dominated the last few minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of to what I said earlier, your mom is looking, okay, they've got some injuries, they're down, let's take advantage of that. It's again going to be up to Texas to not allow them to be the factor.
Right.
So we're going to recruit. It's always tough when you have a battle going back and forth, and then you get it close to a 3-point game again, and then you've got a several-minute pause. It takes that energy and that momentum,
seeking
and you've got to
sub on the
reshift
black jammer and the last jam for failing to leave the track timely.
All right, so we've got a official review. They are requesting a penalty because of the jammer not exiting the track. Now, we saw yesterday in multiple games, we saw that penalty was called. There was some flexibility in that penalty. But we even saw some cases where a lot of times when a jammer is talking back to the ref or not exiting because they're fighting the call or whatever the case is, a lot of times that is going to result in that extra. But there has been some leeway, and I think partially, one, you're at the championships.
Right.
The level is high. We know it's going to get chippy. They want to let them play.
Absolutely.
But there's also a respect portion of it, and there's also the rule.
Of course.
So taking a timeout, so your mom has basically said, we're going to take this, we're going to have an official review. This has already happened. We're going to see if we can couple it with an additional 30 seconds on the penalty.
Right, and again, strategically well played, and we'll see how this plays out. For those of you joining us online, thank you so much for being with us. If you just joined us, shame on you. You've missed quite a bit, but thank you for being here. We've got your mom in red, and the Texas Outlaws in their dark blue. So thank you for being with us. Chip Queso and Piggy Fatness with you this morning. Chip, what an amazing, well, not even half of a half yet that we've seen.
Yes, and so much more to go. Of course, this is the first semifinal. Upcoming next, we have got the bout against the number 1 St. Louis Gatekeepers going on against Bridgetown, who had a beautiful comeback from in that first period and then ended up mostly dominating in that second half. So that is going to be a very exciting matchup because Bridgetown is another one of those teams, like Texas Men, that has been slowly working their ways up the ranks, and now these two top teams, your mom and Gatekeepers, are going to either be able to keep and hold on to it,
right,
or the new blood's going to come in and take those trophies.
It makes for intriguing storylines here all weekend at the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships. Teams that until in the last, I'd say the last couple of years is really when my experience with the let's get a word from the head referee.
Miss Trump.
The officials have conferred and the in-sub is going to be issued for the Black Jammer. They have retained their official review.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so one of those things that happened once or twice yesterday, and that is it's a very tough call to make, and that is a penalty that is not called is then called.
Yep.
After a review. They confirmed, they decided that jammer did not leave picking up. That's El Nino. And remember, he was down on his back, had to get up and then leave. But they determined that he didn't leave fast enough.
Right. So that puts us with Rolomite with the star for your mom as we get started.
Nice spin move around Rhino. Rhino couldn't really do much. He left about a foot on the inside line, and Rolomite only needs about an inch.
Not down just a jammer, but also a blocker. Rolomite able to take advantage. Another pass right by Rhino on the inside. Puts up 5 for your mom.
The main thing is Texas is gonna have to not let this affect them too much. They're gonna have a jam like this when they're down in a power jam. But again, need to feed off of what their teamwork has accumulated all year long to make sure they stay in it.
Now, unless my math is wrong, Chip, this looks to be a minute, not just 30.
Rhino with another attempt to push out a Rolomite. Rolomite just too quick. 5 more points on the board. Puts him up at 62-44. No points so far in this jam as El Nino is back on the track.
Rolomite recycled back now behind a 2-wall that is made up of Rhino alongside Tip.
And we've got a star pass that is going to number 32, Kyle Divers. El Nino also didn't want to get another penalty. Huge hit on Rhino. That's care of number 19, Corey Payne.
I like this move to Kyle Divers. We'll see what he can do to take advantage of the star pass, but it is called off as would be expected. That gets us to the halfway portion of this first period between your mom men's derby and Texas men's roller derby. 66-45. So coming out of that official review period, Chip, your mom taking advantage of the jammer penalty that resulted from that review.
Yes. The jammer penalty, and of course the timeout to recollect themselves.
Yep.
They had the successful jam. Now we go back into it. It's Eckleberry, and he's going up against Mr. E-Machine.
E-Machine putting up 18 points earlier. Now looking to do more.
Excuse me, it gets knocked to the outside as we've got another blocker, but getting through for a lead jam, Eckleberry Jam, lead jammer.
You were mentioning how Eckleberry Jam is sort of in his first couple of years of the sport. Once the game gets rolling, his confidence just shoots to the moon, and we're seeing that right now.
Mr. E-Machine goes down, Carib Atomic. Texas men trying to force him back, looking for that track cut, and he gets it. Beautiful move there by number 68, Dick Diamond, as he forced that cut.
This power jam for Eckleberry Jam could be the difference, but your mom's defense really settles in and knocks him out to the infield.
Nick Pusher back in just as the tail end of that jam, as we've got 4 points scored for Texas. Puts them up to 49-68. So from a 3 points down by quite a bit, now inching way back, jam by jam. This is exactly what we expect. Hope nobody has spilled their coffee yet with the excitement jumping up and down in your living rooms, as it's good to see Rufio back in for his second jam.
In to help out is Tip. Rufio, though, still stuck behind some red jerseys.
Oh, huge hit there by Tip. Trying to help Rufio. Rufio gets knocked to the inside in turn 3, has to re-engage in said turn 3. Mr. E-Machine out again, so lead jammer is still available. Rhino in there trying to work satellite offense. 3-1 match, 3-1 setup for Texas, and a forced rack cut on Mr. E-Machine.
Rufio now with some opportunity to work on a power jam for the Outlaws. Pace of the pack is picking up.
Rhino up front trying to create some havoc, trying to spread some space out. 3 defensive players in the back waiting for some kind of offensive push. Rufio not able to get through here. We've got a minute and change, and he is still not on his initial pass.
Great defensive work by your mom. It's their calling card, and right now it's taken Rufio more than a minute and 15 to pick up that lead jammer call, and immediately calls it off.
And he quickly calls it off. We are not going to speculate, but certainly not able to get through for a scored pass. He went down several times. We already know that he is limbering just a little bit, so he's controlling and maintaining himself. That's what he needs to do. He needs to take the timeout. They do need him in this game, so I'm going to call that a smart play. No points for Texas.
I would agree. So we're going to set up our next jam as the Enabler will be making his second appearance on the line. This is the Outlaws finishing up the last remaining seconds of that last power jam.
Multiplayer block on someone from, it looks like number 8 there from your mom. Enabler only has one skater left. That's number 39, Cleveland Seaver. Gets by, lead jam, Texas men's. Mr. Machine has removed the cap, re-engaging back there between turn 1 and 2.
Quick 5-point pass by the Enabler puts Texas, make that 4, puts Texas within 15 points.
Cleveland Seaver with a penalty, so 2 blockers off the track and a multiplayer blocker. So 1 blocker on the track and a jammer with the panty in his helmet and a track cut called on him. So second jammer penalty in this. Texas men's at 53-68 still in control.
Not to take anything away from Texas men's, but the penalties have been what have assisted in now what could be a second jam.
That was a absolutely huge hit on Chuck Taylor from the Enabler, and if anybody knows anything about those 2 guys, that is why the crowd is absolutely screaming.
Big thumbs up from the Enabler as he made that pass, and a 4-point no pass, no penalty pass for Texas as they have cut the lead to 1 point. The noise in here is deafening.
Texas looking to come out. Enabler gets knocked to his toe stop, stays in, gets stood up by another player there. Waits for it, plays a little defense in the back. Says, I'm tired of jamming. I'm going to hit this player coming up. Enabler taking his time, biting on the outside as Mr. E-Machine stuck with 2 up front. 8 seconds on the clock. Enabler trying to get past at least a couple of hips. He does around the outside. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a lead change.
Stutter step and acceleration, and you can hear the crowd. A lead change. Chip Queso at the 9-minute, 15-second mark has Texas in the lead for the first time this half.
Wow, not only does that pump the crowd up, the DJ puts on the funk. We're getting it going early here in the morning in North Richland Hills. We've got Rollamite going up against Dr. Feelgood in this next jam.
Beautiful matchup. Your mom looking to regain control, and they have the capacity to do so. The ability to stay on the track, though, becomes critical at this point for your mom, as that's where they make their most effective work.
Penalty's called, forearm by someone. Do not see infraction. Big hit on Dr. Feelgood as he gets knocked out on the outside, almost getting stuck up in skates. Her skates are literally his pant is stuck on his skate. Like physically, the wheel rolled up in his pants and tried to de-pants him. Everybody's smiling. The jam is over.
For those watching, it's on the opposite side of the track. You just got to believe us when we say that I was nothing I've ever seen before.
Now, Rolomite is over there asking for an official review to his bench. I'm not sure what he would be reviewing there, but we'll be interested to see if that is actually what happens.
It sounds like there was a penalty assessed to Rolomite.
That's right, because of that. So he's asking for a official review on his own penalty.
Right.
With so much action and what was happening here in this corner, I'm sorry, I don't think our vantage, we saw what that penalty might be, so we'll wait for mistrial. Wow. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Men's Derby.
I'll tell you what, Chip Queso, this is my first opportunity to be here at the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships, and it has not been disappointing whatsoever.
Not whatsoever. And the last couple of years, with the rise of the Texas men's and also of Dallas Derby Devils, they are becoming hostess with the mostest. They've put on the Clover Cup, they put on the World Cup, they've put on this event. They are doing so many things for Derby and stepping up in the community, especially in men's Derby, but all over the place.
Sure.
Their women's team is doing great. They're doing great. It's just been a great thing to see Dallas up and coming.
I have to agree. There is such a hotbed of Derby and have been for so many years. I think back to 2012, 2013 when I got into the game and getting up here to call because I knew there was so much great Derby, but then seeing how global in scope they've become with all these events, and again, just doing a great job of hosting this event here this weekend.
Yeah, and they've got Dallas Derby Devils, Assassination City, Texas Men's Derby. They've got Denton. They've got a wonderful juniors program here, and there are probably a handful of other sundry co-ed or mixed leagues that I don't even know about up here. So it is definitely a place where Derby is growing. There's a roller skating and kind of roller skating community already established here. Speed skating is a big thing, all of that. So now getting all these people to converge in, and when you have events like this and teams that are up the top, it's just going to continue to build the programs here.
And I think it's key to mention that we're talking about the influx of the Dallas area Derby, but what's happened is that the world has recognized, and teams like your mom here today have come in to challenge. Obviously, this is a tournament setting, but what I'm saying is teams have recognized the level of play by these leagues and are coming in to challenge, and you only learn by how you play up. And so the world has really challenged Dallas, and Dallas has risen to the occasion, but it wouldn't have happened if the teams of this type weren't coming in to play and bring their level of talent to help set the standard for what we're seeing here.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely. We are still here in just about 3 minutes of official timeout. We've got Smiles there, and now we're going to have a mistrial.
An official review was called by Red because Red was down for a perceived injury, and we were going to make him sit for 3. However, we have now conferred and believe it was an equipment malfunction, so we will not make him sit for 3. Thank you.
Okay.
There you
go.
go.
The pants in the wheel scenario with Dr. Feelgood, Rolomite was penalized, and he was down thinking it was a penalty, which is what you're supposed to do as a knee, as a courtesy, as opposed to not leaving the track and receiving that extra penalty. So that's the right call.
It is. And hashtag equipment malfunction as a result.
I think they should just all wear shorter shorts. Or maybe not.
Well, yeah, I'll let y'all discuss.
Dr. Feelgood through, but he is not lead jammer for a no pass, no penalty. They are up 72-68 with 8 minutes to go in this first period.
Ebb and flow of this bout has been amazing. Right now, Texas looking to put points on and to extend this lead, but your mom with some tight defense, bridging forward, but Feelgood able to get through. 5 points on that pass for the Outlaws.
Can feel a slight shift in the momentum. Dr. Feelgood is having his way. Down on 2 toe stops, down with one hand in. He is still in and on. That is the second time this bout, and he gets 5 points. Doesn't re-engage and go out like he thinks it's a cut. Very, very smart play.
3 wall meets Feelgood on the backside. 4 jerseys from the Texas Outlaws, slowing down the progress of Rolomite on the front portion of the pack.
Dr. Feelgood does finally go out of bounds. Cara, the blockers from your mom, re-engaging. Not sure if he scored any points on this pass. Meanwhile, Rolomite up front.
Corey Payne had come in to try to create some space. I'm sorry, Chip, but again, the Outlaws closed so quickly.
Your mom with a big hit, number 19 there. Corey Payne has to be very careful. Almost got a blocking from out of bounds penalty. And a lead jammer, no, a track cut forced on Rolomite. Now, Rolomite slowly got off the track, but they seem to be fine with that call. So, again, we're going to be interested to see how they call that as the time goes on.
Another blocker down for your mom. And Feel Good still with the still jamming.
5 seconds left in this jam to score points. The panty has been passed, and that is the end of that jam. We have got 4 more points up on the board. Texas taking its biggest lead, 82-68, Piggy, with just about 6 minutes left.
Slight correction, Chip, because of the 4 points you just mentioned. We do sit at 86. But again, as you said, it is the largest lead that we've seen so far.
Hey, 68-86. Look at what we've done here.
Oh, my goodness. What exactly would you call that, Chip Queso?
Well, it's something that Rydell likes to talk about a lot.
Yes, they do. Right now, we're going to get back to the action.
I'm surprised we haven't had any Rydell palindrome discussions, but we're about to remove ourselves from that status as lead jammer goes to the enabler. Doug Taylor gets pushed out by Tip. That leaves 2 up front to get by. The enabler hop, skipping a lead jam. I mean, a 5-point jam.
Tip with 2 key blocks to open up a lane for the enabler. Looking for more. Test the outside, but your mom is there ready.
Enabler trying to find that outside line. First initial pass for Rolomite as he is exited out of the box, quickly culling off that jam. 3 more points for Texas men as they are 6 away from the century mark.
Under 5 minutes remaining in this first period of this semifinal bout. Your Mom Men's Derby, Texas Men's Roller Derby, both looking to punch their way into the final championship bout. But we're way too far away from knowing how that'll all play out.
It's an early morning semifinal that feels like a late afternoon championship. Here we go. We've got Eckleberry Jam, successful on his previous jams, up against Scott Slamilton, who hasn't been in for a few jams.
Texas Men's Roller Derby, 3-wall on the outside. In to help out is number 3, Peter Pan, for your mom.
Oh, huge hit there from number 505. That is Nick Busher, forcing Scott Slamilton back to the back of the pack. Has to contend with that 3-wall, grabs and almost pulls the Texas blocker out of bounds. Meanwhile, Eckleberry stuck up at that front 4-wall. Little offense coming from Texas. And Scott Hamilton through on the inside. First lead jam in a while for your mom.
It has been a bit, and now they are looking to take advantage. Scott Slamilton approaching the pack about a quarter track away. Eckleberry
Jam does a good job, excuse me, I keep interrupting you, Piggy, does a good job of following the your mom blockers. As opposed to them stopping, they actually followed them through the pack and looks to get 1 point on that pass. 4 points.
We do have a stoppage in play as Kyle Divers will be looked at. He's slow to get up on the infield, but on both skates. So I can't even imagine, and Chip, you play this game. I can't even imagine I don't even know how to explain it. Just how hard hitting this game is. You've played it for a couple of years now. What's it like mid-pack in a moment like this when you're playing,
Well, it's one of those things where you get out and you line up and everybody's set and they're energized and your core is all tight. You're ready to go. You're ready for the hit. And then things start going. And when you're getting halfway through, no matter how physically strong you are or how prepared you are, the banging and the hitting, there are so many times that I get knocked down. And when I get up, I'm like shaky knees. Not because of endurance, because of the amount of force that you're putting in every hit, either staving off or making that hit. So to see these players go down and get up as quickly as they do takes a lot of effort because it is a very damaging sport.
It's a testament to the heart and soul of everyone who plays this sport. Male, female, juniors. We saw juniors last night. They are out there hitting. They're out there playing. They're out there thinking. And in a moment like this, when we're looking at now Texas with a bit of a substantial lead, let me get back to the track.
Direction of gameplay penalty on red 1-9 be upgraded to an expulsion.
All right,
So they are looking. Go ahead, Piggy.
They're looking for an expulsion on the, let me see, was it Texas Outlaws? Oh, I'm sorry, Corey Payne. That is what the discussion about. Their Texas Outlaws seeking an expulsion.
Now, we don't have the benefit of replay here, so we have to kind of go back to memory. Those at home can spin back and go forward again possibly, but they are looking for an upgrade. Texas says, hey, you upgraded a penalty on one of our guys. Let's see if we can do the same to you. With 3 minutes to go, it's a smart use of that.
I would agree. Just to complete the thought, again, such hard-hitting play. It's of course, it's obvious to say it's part of this sport. But again, time and again, whether it's this tournament or others, the fact that these players get up, they know what's at stake, and they're putting all their heart and soul into it. So for me, as someone who's never skated on track and played the game, it's why I'm such a big fan. Not just because the sport is so awesome, but because it's my chance to get to see the heart of people that I admire out on that track.
Well, for me, and as long as I've been the pleasure of announcing this sport in the last few years playing, I've gained so much more respect, not only for the men that I play with, but also the women who are fierce in their own right.
Indeed.
The officials conferred and decided that it was not an expulsion-worthy event. They have used their official review.
So they've used their review, no expulsion, and we're going to get right back into the action. But to finish off the point, it's amazing being in the sport and realizing how much more respect I've gained because of how physical and how strategic and how mental all parts of it is. We play with pads, but they're really minimal pads for the amount of hits that we take.
Sure.
Let's watch some more teams that do it better than most.
Physical, strategic, and mental is what we're about to see as we get back to the action.
This is a perfect example of taking up the space. Whistle blows, jammers don't go forward, and they are eating up the space, forcing backwards. We are Rolomite up against the enabler. A multiplayer block on one of the players, the pivot for your mom. Meanwhile, Rolomite gets lead jammer. And no, he gets a forearm penalty. Power jam, Piggy, for Texas.
Another jammer penalty opens up the door for some work by Texas. The enabler is clearing through and looking for points.
This team over there pointing at her helmet. Be smart in the jammer. We need these points. We need this advantage with under 3 minutes to go. As Tip gets sent out as the pivot for Texas men's on an infraction. 2-on-3 advantage for your mom. Scoring pass for the enabler. He's gotten past at least one set of hips. Out of bounds block goes on number 19. And then a hit, but not a strong enough hit on the enabler. Gets through for 5 points.
That takes us to the 2-minute mark.
Coulter there, number 8, hit him. Enabler does not go out of bounds, but Coulter immediately goes to the referee going, why didn't you call that? Not sure what he was asking for, but skaters in such intense game tend to go to the referees a little bit more than maybe they should, as opposed to letting it play out, because in the long run, it doesn't always do you good. It just upsets the referee.
It can, absolutely. Rufio back on track, third time on the track, and he goes down mid-pack.
Scott Slamilton there as the jammer for your mom. Had success last time, gets knocked out, keeps that toe stop in to avoid a track cut. Rufio trying to get through on the inside line. One to get past. He gets knocked to the inside, quickly gets back out. And we have got a track cut on Scott Slamilton. So Rufio with the ability to get a jam in a power jam. 3-on-4 advantage for Texas men's.
Past jam, the Outlaws exceeded the 100-point mark, with Rufio looking to add to that. Nice force out there by your mom. Rufio having to recycle.
That's care of Chuck Taylor, number 27.
Corey Payne caught behind a 3-wall by the Outlaws.
Tip in there trying to get some advantage. And we are looking at a track cut. Fortunately for Rufio, he was right in front of the penalty box, did not have to skate around, so at least he took advantage of knowing that where he was on the track. Scott Slamilton back in, one to get past.
And Slamilton has completed his initial pass in what will be a full 2 minutes. That will take us to the halftime period of this bout.
30 seconds to go. Can they create momentum as Texas has gone up to 101 to 72? Big hit on tip on the inside. Gets up with a smile. Scott Slamilton tries to get through, gets past. Does. So he's got 5 points.
Beautiful acceleration by Slamilton as he took 2 hits getting through.
Another penalty on Rufio. He is not the jammer. Oh, no, he is because he's holding the jammer painting, I believe. Yes. 5 points up Scott Slamilton. Then waving by there to Matomic and then smacking him on the backside. Not sure what kind of love that was, sarcastic or real.
Who knows? But either way, that does, well, from a clock standpoint, we look to be at halftime. I see the officials conferring, so we'll keep an eye to see if we're still in play here.
Yeah, and part of the conferring, I would only guess is, come on, guys, we're getting a little bit. Let's settle down and go take a breather. But the rest of us are going, no, let's keep this up. This has been amazing first half of Derby. Score not really depictive in the sense that it feels like it should be a 1-point game.
Right.
But Texas has done a beautiful job of coming back and regaining going from the deficit to regaining and being a lead. And now going into halftime, we'll see what the teams can do for adjustments.
Indeed. Ebb and flow of this game is something that will probably continue, so make sure you stay with us. We're going to take about a 13-and-a-half-minute halftime period, come back a little bit before that as we see the continuation of this semifinal bout here at the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships. We'll be right back with more awesome Derby action.
And welcome back here to the NYTEX Sports Center in North Richland Hills, just outside of Dallas, Texas. We are at halftime, about to start the second half of the first bout here at day number 2. Chip Day, so I'm joined by Piggy Fatness, and this is everything we expected a semifinal bout to be.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Everything from a hard-hitting bout to a back and forth ebb and flow in terms of points. So many stories happening here. We've had a couple of G.I. Joel, an injury there. We're wishing him well. He's up and around, and so glad to see that. But some impacts, I think, of Rufio in the work that he's doing. So we'll see how that plays out in the second half. But again, this is what we come to expect at this level as these two teams are battling to go to the championship here this weekend. Here at MRDA Champs.
Yeah, you've got, as we talked about, Texas up and coming, third place last year, third most of the year in the rankings, trying to come up and get into that 1 or 2 spot. Obviously, they want to be one here as they're hosting the event. Your mom, the powerhouse for years and years, regardless of some of the faces changing and the mix-up of their team, they continue to be a force to reckon with. They continue to be a team that you have to beat, you have to go through to get. And right now, Texas has found a way to take that early deficit that your mom putting on them, the injuries that they had, and turn it around to a positive winning first half. But the question is, we all know, adjustments.
Exactly.
What are teams going to do?
I was about to say, as I am king of the obvious, halftime is so critical. And again, what I'm excited to see is what kind of adjustments are both teams making, because they have played their hand, so to speak. But what do they have in reserve that they now say, okay, it's plan B time. Let's go and see what we can do different in the second period. That's going to be fun to watch. Yeah,
now the last jam, your mom was trying to gain some momentum as they had not had it for several minutes leading toward the tail end of that half. Texas coming out, trying to overcome those slight injuries and change in their lineups. And I am sure that if we were all flies on the wall there in those locker rooms, we are going to see the culmination of what they were discussing.
Yeah. Well, even as flies, they probably would have kicked us out. So.
Right. And good news, as you mentioned, G.I. Joel is not only up, he is in full gear and in with his team. So it looks like they will have their full squad up and on skates Hopefully, everybody is playing at 100%, because every team will tell you they don't want to win with a bunch of injuries and teams doing this. They want to win fair and square. Sure,
Absolutely.
it's nice and be easier. Sure, it's nice to not have some of the players you have to deal with. But realistically, at the end of the day, you want full squads. You want full competition. You don't want it to be played out by some other factors.
Over the course of the first period, the story for your mom has been keeping their blockers on the track. Penalties have been an impact for them. We've also got some strong jammer work that's being done on both sides. Scott Slamilton leading your mom with 32 points, 31 by Rolomite, 19 by Mr. E-Machine.
Now, what here is to watch is, for your mom, they have 3 players with 5 penalties, another 2 with 4 penalties, and some with 3. Texas with 1 player, Larry Hopper, with 5 penalties, and 4 with El Nino. The rest are 2s and 3s. So advantage on the penalty side of things for Texas, because some of the penalties for your mom are with key players. Rolomite, Nick Becker, Just Mike, and then Coulter with 4, Chuck Taylor with 4. So penalties could very well become part of the bigger part of the story as we finish up the second period.
Indeed. So we're right about the point where we're ready to roll this second period. Rolomite will begin for your mom. This will be a power start coming out of the first period for your mom.
Rufio in the penalty box, joined by Matomic, so 3-on-4 advantage and power jam for your mom. So if they're going to start a second period down, this is certainly the way to try to gain some momentum. Now, we might see a pause here. Not sure if the referees are going to allow this to play because the scoreboard is not up. And rules typically are you have to have the visible score and time for each team. So I believe they are still waiting for the computer and the screen to reboot, I guess.
So why don't we take a moment to say thank you to some of our fantastic sponsors, beginning with Moda Skates. They are 100% skaters, by skaters, for skaters, and they're happy as we are that we're back on with the scoreboard, so more on them later.
So as you see at the bottom of your screen, and we see in our scoreboard in venue, 30 minutes on the second period clock. Jam 1 is going to be Rufio, who is in the penalty box, up against Frank Natsuhatra. 82-101 in favor of Texas men. Here we go.
Five-second call has been made. 30 minutes to a finish. First appearance by Frank Natsuhatra, as you said, Chip, and he's through on the outside, lead jammer.
Beautiful work by your mom, because no one even touched Frank as he pretty much skated straight through on the outside line. Lead jammer for your mom. Dick Diamond trailing the back of the pack, trying to get back up to the front. Gets knocked to the outside, so he is behind his pack, and that easily allows Frank Natsuhatra through for a 5-point pass.
We might be seeing one of those key adjustments that we've been talking about, is maybe they're saving Frank Natsuhatra. We'll see if that turns out to be the case.
Rufio back in, trying to get through his initial pass. Penalty called on your mom player. Meanwhile, 5 points for Frank Natsuhatra. Rufio through on his initial pass. Texas trying to get up front. Dick Diamond sent off for a penalty. But Tom gets knocked off of his skates just about, and 4 more points for your mom. Seems like they're happy to let this go. Rufio now scoring points, 2 up front. They're going to have to let him go in just about a second. Actually, nice bridging there.
Very beautiful bridge. Frank Natsuhatra saying, I am here. 4 more points on the board.
Coulter knocked out for a penalty. I'm sorry. Yes, that's Coulter. Got a few of the numbers are mixed up on our lineups versus on the jerseys. So apologize if that's a missed call. Number 8 to the penalty box. End of that jam. 5 points for your mom. And we have got a tie bout out of nowhere, Biggie. Back to a tie game.
Frank Natsuhatra in one jam has reignited your mom men's roller derby, and it is just, again, deafening in here, and just an unbelievable turn in that first jam of the second period.
Now, Dr. Feelgood was part of the reason they got ahead in this last last period, so let's see what he can do as he works around the outside. Lead jammer, Dr. Feelgood for Texas.
Rolomite trying to make his initial pass. He gets bounced up, but stays on his skates. Beautiful turn to make that pass.
Larry Hopper did what he could, faced forward, had to let Rolomite go. That's his initial pass. Meanwhile, Dr. Feelgood, 2 more up front to get past, tiptoes around and calls it off while on his toe stops. 4-4. Wow.
Score remains tied after that second jam. And we will reset. Scott Slamilton with the star for your mom. This is going to be number 26, Eckleberry Jam, jamming for Texas.
Eckleberry 4 times on jam line, only 1 with lead. Texas lined up on back line, up front, 3 wall. 4, your mom. Scott Slamilton, push, trying to get through on that inside, lane 1, lane 2. Eckleberry gets knocked to the outside, then knocked to the inside, has to re-engage. Atomic in the back doing great work on Scott Slamilton. Then Jam falls over Scott Slamilton, so that should be a penalty. It is a forearm penalty, not a low block, so he must have accumulated that point before Eckleberry fell over him.
Eckleberry Jam now on a power jam. Your mom, men's roller derby with a 3-wall that holds strong. That being anchored by number 3, Peter Pan.
And Eckleberry around the outside finds that space, hits through lead jammer, quickly approaching the pack again as Slamilton is awaiting his time back on the track. Eckleberry calling for some offensive push, try to mix it up, speed up the pack, calling for points, and calls it off while Scott is standing. Smart play by Eckleberry Jam.
113 to 109, Texas with the lead. 25 minutes, 39 seconds. The clock is moving as we once again see Rolomite on the line for your mom and the enabler for the Texas Outlaws.
G.I. Joe back on the track, looks just fine. That is great to see. Again, we don't want any hurt players. Everybody moves up to the lonely pivot line. 1 in the jam. That's the enabler, as you mentioned, Piggy.
There was a bit of a confusion there as Rolomite took the track, but there was still penalty time on your mom for the jammer. But all the chairs in the box are empty now.
Penny has been removed by Scott Slamilton, still in his hand, being forced back by Rhino. Meanwhile, enabler up front, 3-wall, includes Chuck Taylor.
Hopper has picked up number 6. That is Hopper. Headed to the box.
Enabler still in control of this jam. Awaiting the time, calls it off. Scott Slamilton had passed, and they kept the panty himself. He stashed it, and then kept it, but no points for your mom. 5 points for Texas.
So, Chip, as we mentioned in the middle of that jam, Larry Hopper does go to 6 penalties. And in terms of the rest of their lineup, Kyle Divers with 4, so not really a lot of danger with other blockers. But Hopper is a big hitter in there, so we'll see how much of an impact that makes.
And not only is that, he played for your mom for 4 championships. He knows what they do. He is also a multi-jam player, meaning that he stays on the track quite a bit. So we'll be interested to see how Texas enters, as we've got a power jam as Rolomite gets sent off for an infraction. Meanwhile, we've got the only jammer on the track, and that is Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood having trouble on the front side, as the defensive work by Cleveland Stever alongside Chuck Taylor has been fantastic.
Rolomite so very good about going to that edge and then holding his toe stops. So strong. A lot of movement. Great work. Has to let him go. Lead jam, Texas. Rolomite has removed the panty out of the penalty box, but we know these days the panty removal is not really fooling anybody these days. However, he does get through a little easier, so maybe it did work. I don't know. Or maybe he's just really good.
I think it's a mixture of all. And a track cut penalty is called on Dr. Feelgood, so this will be power start for your mom.
Now the referees are discussing that as Dr. Feelgood was in a pause with his hands down out of bounds, but I did not see him get up or lift. I'm not sure. If he lifts one hand and both skates and knees are not on the ground, typically that's just like if he fell and never was out of play. So maybe that's what they're calling. From our vantage point here, that's the opposite end, so not 100% sure.
Now, it looks like it is a penalty, so this is a power start for your mom, as Frank Not-So-Hatra making his second appearance in the bout, second time this half.
Good bridging, now offensive work. Bringing the huge pain, and then Rhino with a huge sternum hit right onto the jammer. Frank Not-So-Hatra. That probably didn't feel so hot.
Not at all. Rhino, that is the job he's there to do, and that is to hit, and he's really great at it. Frank Not-So-Hatra, to his credit, gets through the pack, picks up lead jammer.
Dr. Feelgood, though, however, also gets through his initial pass out of the penalty box, so he is eligible for points. It's up to the Texas defense as Frank Not-So-Hatra now gets knocked to the inside, sees Dr. Feelgood, but decides not to call it off. Dr. Feelgood threw it around. That means that he is going to have to get his points back before he calls off that jam.
Feelgood again. Oh.
That is a big penalty on number 8. He then gets an insubordination for yelling at the referees. You've got to keep your cool. You got to.
So critical, these two penalties, as this jam continues and comes to a close.
Ladies and gentlemen, the score is 109 to 121. Your mom is for champions for so many years, but the wheels are almost starting to fall off here with the attitude.
It really is something to see. 125 to 113, the updated score after that jam.
Now
official review has been called by Texas.
Yeah, they are calling an official review. Now, as we know, both of these teams, again, so much respect around the country for them. They're such programs. They've been perennial at the top, especially your mom. But right now, cooler heads have to prevail. In a bout that this intense, in a bout that's less than 20 or 30 points of a difference, which we know is nothing in this game, with 21 minutes to go, you've got to maintain control because it's just going to cause penalties, frustrations, which cause to sloppy work, etc.
That's what we saw happen in the last jam. And so, again, as this discussion by our officials takes place, the story became right at the outset Frank Not-So-Hatra coming out and putting up upwards of, I believe, 21 points on that jam, or 23, I should say. And then, as you mentioned, in just the last jam, your mom seems to have, I'm not going to say imploded, but there's definitely cracks. They're capable of bringing it back, and that's what makes them so dangerous. Texas, though, for the last few minutes of this first period and into this first period, has maintained the pressure that got them the lead and now continues to keep them up front.
Right. And, you know, the other thing is there are only certain designated people that are on the track. As a player, I know very well.
Upgrade the penalty on red 8 for an expulsion-worthy penalty of charging.
So they are looking to upgrade to an expulsion. I think they have a justified review for that based on the actions. And again, this is absolutely nothing, but if you're not a player that is designated to speak to the referee, and even more, especially if you're a player that is called off and you don't agree to that, and you turn to the ref and you don't shake your head yes and immediately exit the track, instead you point your finger and wave and yell at him, you are just basically asking him to call that insubordination.
It really is going to be interesting to see what happens here at this key point. We are at 21 minutes, 4 seconds on the clock, 12 points separating these two teams.
Now, you know, in conversely, as we know, Texas, they're kind of usually the ones in that position. They tend to get the referees a little bit ruffled and all that. They do seem to be holding their composure slightly more.
Yeah.
But again, this is an extremely intense bout. Hopefully that conveys over the feed that you're watching and the excitement in our voices and the ambient crowd screams out there. But still, it's still a gentleman's game.
Yeah.
We are still professionals at that.
Sure.
And we have to respect the referees. Do we agree with them all the time? No. Do we see things differently? Sure, that happens. But it's their control, their thing. And if you start yelling and aggravating them, do you think that the in-between calls are going to go your way?
Yeah. It makes a difference in the overall game. That's not to say anything to slight individuals. They're working hard. They're working well. And the time that they're taking to discuss this situation is, again, testament to the level of officiating that we've seen here this weekend and that we see across the sport in events of this type. So, once again, for those of you watching, we're on an official review that has been called for consideration of an expulsion-worthy event, as it was called, on a blocker for your mom. And so that's where we are at a bit of a pause. In the black jerseys are Texas, in the red jerseys are your mom. If you've just joined us, thank you for being here with us online. Chip Queso alongside Piggy Fatness. And Chip, it only gets more intense from here regardless of the outcome of this review.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually the third review that we've had today already, 2 in the first half. The previous review for Texas was also a hopeful upgrade. That was denied. I believe it was actually on the same player from before. So now they are trying to get that, and here we have a decision.
Interesting turn of events. Red 8 was actually going to be on 7 penalties with the penalty and the id-sub that he just received. However, with additional information from the officials, the penalty that was incurred is being removed because the target and blocking zones were actually legal, but the in-sub will remain. So now he's only on 6 penalties in the box. They have used their official review.
Interesting turn of events as the penalty on Coulter has been removed. So he will be at 6 and will return to the bench.
Yeah, so let's make sure we clarify. They're removing the penalty that was incurred because they said that he hit in the legal blocking zones. And then when he fought that, I guess rightly so, because they removed he fought it. He was right, and the penalty wasn't correct, but he was wrong, and that forced in-sub, which still gets him at 6 penalties.
Exactly.
So he kind of messed himself up in that regard.
Yeah.
Here we go. Rolomite jamming. He is the lead jammer for your mom with, lead point scorer with 35 points, going up against the enabler. The enabler currently at 41 points, and he is also lead jammer.
Forearm penalty being called, and that will send a Texas Outlaw blocker to the penalty box. That is number 505, Nick Pusher.
Enabler calling off the jam, abiding his time, getting 3 points on that pass, so no points to your mom. That is a good jam, but not enough points for what they feel. 20 minutes left.
Right.
This is a nail biter for sure, to use a cliche that pretty much perfectly
fits the moment.
Fits,
yeah, and great clarification, Chip, on that penalty. Thank you for that. Again, so much happening, and the pace of this bout so fast as we're now under 20 minutes left to go, as you said.
Il Nino back in. He's had a little bit of pause with some penalty trouble. Scott Slamilton for your mom. Il Nino had quite a bit of success yesterday, but today not so much, having some difficulty not getting any leads in 4 times with the star. Blocking with a head penalty on your mom. And lead jammer goes to Scott Slamilton, but he is not the jammer in the lead. That is Il Nino, who is out in front, looking to play some jammer-on-jammer action. No, he just says, I can skate a little faster than you.
Now some contact between the two.
Texas looking to get up, trying to force the action up the front, trying to protect the point. Il Nino comes in on 1 foot, gets through first. That is 4-point pass, and no lead jammer status for Texas. That means that your mom is going to have to fight to get those 4 points back.
Il Nino accelerated on that straightaway, picked up, and we've got a helmet cover stash now by your mom.
Narrowly avoiding a cut, blocker for your mom. We had a whistle called. That is a cut on somebody, I'm not sure. Oh, it's on Il Nino. He did not know that call was against him, so he is now off the track. Power jam, full jam for your mom.
This could be what your mom wanted.
Only 2 points on that pass. Left 3 in the queue.
Scott Slamilton on the inside. and goes down hard into the infield.
Has to re-engage between turns 1 and 2. Removes the panty again, even though, he is passing it, but not before it is called. No points on that pass. 3 points on that pass right before the pass.
It's hard not to think, based on the body language of your mom, that they are seeing either fatigue or frustration, whatever it may be. Their ability to recover from that is going to be very key.
Rolomite is the sole jammer on the track. El Nino standing, waiting. Rolomite lead jammer quickly before he gets to the pit line. 118 to 134, 17 minutes left, Piggy.
El Nino back on the track, but Rolomite with a nice pass for 4 for your mom. Strong. Rolomite approaching.
Big hit right in the proper area, not getting a back block. Your mom, El Nino, removes hands, the pivot, the star. But Rolomite through on the inside, another scoring pass, pulls it, called it off, and we are going to be very close. 3 points.
134 to 131, 16 minutes, 30 seconds in this semifinal bout. On the track for your mom, Mr. E-Machine. He is facing off against Dr. Feelgood.
Texas one blocker down in the box. That's Dick Diamond. Texas using 3 up front, 4 in the back. Fighting on Dr. Feelgood for your mom.
E-Machine with 19 points so far in the bout. Feelgood with 46. Both still trying to get through the pack.
Penalty called on a Texas player. That's number 57, Turbo. Meanwhile, Dr. Feelgood knocked to the outside, has to re-engage again. Lead jammer goes to Mr. E-Machine.
4-2 blocker advantage right now for your mom as Tip headed to the penalty box. And almost a clean pass through for E-Machine, but he's back on.
Oh, beautiful footwork by Dr. Feelgood, but that jam is called off. 4 points for your mom, no points. And we, ladies and gentlemen, have another lead change.
135 to 134 as we approach the halfway point of this second period. And a timeout has been called, right?
So as we look at our scoreboard, our stats that you can't see online there, one of the things that we are now seeing that may be the reason your mom is they have expanded their jammer rotation. They were pretty much on a more narrow than Texas, but now they have had 5 jammers. Texas has 5 jammers, and they have basically inserted Frank Sinatra Scooter, if I'm correct, from the first period. No, first period, Frank Sinatra did stand. Scooter had not.
Right, so that definitely one of the adjustments that was made by your mom after the half. And as we have the 15 minutes and 14 seconds remaining, Chip, with a 1-point differential here, you know, I mentioned about 2 jams ago the fatigue that seemed to be on the faces of the Your Mom team, but again, to their credit, they are still battling hard, which is what we see at this level. So it makes for a very, very fun bout to call.
Texas with a quick sub. Eckleberry had gone out to the jam line, but Enabler was switched in. He's been more successful, so probably the reasoning for that, they are going up against Rolomite and maybe feel that that's a better matchup. Rolomite had his way the last jam. Maybe they can contain that. Enabler has had his way a good majority of the jams. Let's go and see what happens.
It sometimes can be as simple as the number of points that Enabler has been able to put up, but right now it is Rolomite picking up the lead jammer call for your mom.
Now that was a beautiful move as Rolomite had one hand sliding out of bounds, but his entire body squinched down below and stayed inbound. That got him lead jam and now gives him 5 points for a grand slam. Enabler is out as a Your Mom blocker goes to the penalty box for a multiplayer.
Rolomite with a nice little apex jump to put up another 4 points, calls off the jam just in time as Enabler was not able to pick up points.
So now a 10-point swing with 14 and a half minutes to go. Mr. E Machine, and now Adam Eckelberry gets his shot.
We have one blocker in the box for your mom. So a 4-3 blocker advantage for the Outlaws.
Eckelberry goes for a very quick inside line one sprint, but gets knocked to the inside. Wasn't successful.
Two blockers on the backside for your mom. Nice hit out there by Peter Pan on Eckelberry Jam.
Unfortunately, Eckelberry didn't notice he could have continued on, but lead jam goes to Mr. E Machine. So your mom with a couple of lead jammers and 3 lead jams in a row, that is putting the score ahead. Once again, a 10-point difference with just under 14 minutes.
Eckelberry Jam able to complete his initial pass as that jam comes to a close.
So good recognition. Just a few points for your mom.
So next jam getting set. So right now, Scott Slamilton with the star for your mom.
Dr. Feelgood for Texas. Scott Slamilton gets pulled all the way to the back. Slamilton has only been to the box 3 times, 38 points. And goes down. He's lead jammer, but gets sent all the way to the outside. Enabler pushes him all the way back to the starting line. Meanwhile, Dr. Feelgood trying to get his toe stop, and is a track cut. One toe stop goes in, and he continues to go. That is a track cut.
Power jam opportunity here comes to a close.
Now Scott Slamilton quickly called that off. Bent over, looked like he was either winded or hurt from one of those hits. Decided that he was going to go ahead and restart the jam and set at the end of the bench. Hopefully he is okay.
That'll put Rolomite on the line for a power start for your mom. They have their full slate of blockers on the track, as does Texas. Feelgood still sitting, so still time on this power start.
A big hit from Tip, but able to stay upright and in his Rolomite for lead jam.
You are not going to nudge Rolomite out. You got to hit him because he can take that and keep going just like he did.
Dr. Feelgood released from the penalty box. This will be his initial pass. Your mom is ready for it. Meanwhile, Texas trying to defend against Rolomite. Not sure if any hits have been passed or points scored, but in control of this jam. Dr. Feelgood gets knocked back as he got hit in the head, but no call. Big hit or penalty on Tip as that jam is called off. 5 more points for your mom.
Tip now at 4 penalties after that last call. So still relatively safe given the amount of time we have on the clock.
It'll be also interesting because they are using Rolomite quite a bit here, and he is set at 6 penalties, so he's still getting through, but yet skating safely or at least penalty-free. But here we go into the next one. Dr. E Machine up against Rufio. E Machine is your lead jammer.
Rufio continuing to jam, but E Machine with a quick step through the pack. Hard hitting pack on the front side. E Machine able to get through. Five points for your mom. That takes them to 158.
Rufio looking to pick up speed, but he is still not made through his initial pass. Mr. E Machine staying upright, one to get past. That's Atomic. Atomic's holding him on the inside line, sitting him up, standing him up a little bit. Rubio staying on 1 foot, then out of bounds, has to re-engage in the back, and the jam is called.
Nick Pusher had joined in to make that a 2-all. The jam is called, and we're under 10 minutes with your mom in what could be called, at least in the context of this game, a comfortable lead.
Well, and here we go. Very similar to what was mirrored in the first period. Texas had gotten themselves down and fought their way back. The difference is you don't have the time left on the clock and a second half. Now you've got the time on the clock, and you've got to make it happen. You've got to make it happen fast, because if they keep getting 4 points, they're going to continue to stretch that lead.
That is correct. 151. The enabler is out for it, Texas. But Scott Slamilton, who's had some success this half, is jamming for your mom. Pack at a stall in the opening portion of turn 1.
Knock to the outside is the jammer for your mom, Slamilton, so he's got to re-engage about at the pivot line. Meanwhile, Enabler now looking to play a little defense so that he can get his team back to holding the jammer, and now he's got to try to get through. They force him out and back to the pivot line.
That opens the door for Scott Slamilton to pick up lead jammer. Got to question a little bit of that decision on the part of the enabler to play defense, as they sorely need that lead jammer call.
Enabler falls, keeps that one hand down. That keeps him inbounds. No track cut penalty. Scott Slamilton looking to call it off before Enabler reaches the pack. 3 points for your mom. So they are continuing to move away few points at a time, 165 to 134, just under 8 minutes to go.
This is where playoff and championship experience of the type that your mom has really starts to show. They know how to play these last 10 minutes, and right now they are pacing themselves, getting a few points, getting those precious seconds off the clock, and keeping this just out of the distance of the Texas Outlaws.
2 blockers on the track for Texas. That's not going to do much against now lead jammer Rolomite. Dr. Fieldgood jamming for Texas.
Rolomite moving to the outside, now shoots back in, and there's the pass. 5 points. Rolomite looking for another. Here comes Nick Pusher, but he's able to push beyond that block and pick up another 5 points. You can almost sense, Chip, the renewed energy of this your mom team.
Dr. Feelgood reluctantly passes the star to Tip. Tip now looking to be the jammer, trying to get through.
Rolomite slowed down for the moment, will recycle.
Back block penalty. That's going to allow Tip to come in a little quicker, but no, they give him a cut. He thought that the penalty allowed him to get back in, but there must have been another your mom player that he cut in that melee.
6 minutes, 13 seconds. The clock is moving, and the clock is not on the side of the Texas Outlaws. Your mom, over the course of the last 3 jams, has really pushed forward and secured their position in this bout.
Again, a testament to their program. They continue to refill and restock every year to keep them up at the top. They gave it up to St. Louis this last year and looking to regain the top seed. Here we go. Lead jammer is Frank Natso-Hatra, leading scorer for your mom.
Red jerseys all amidst the blockers of Texas. And a 5-point Grand Slam pass for your mom.
Tip is released from the box. Rarely ever starts the jam as a jammer, but he is because he was the pivot, received it, and then got a penalty.
Pack stalled at the top of turn 1. Nice work there by your mom to prevent Texas from putting those walls together.
Frank Natso-Hatra biding his time, looking to call it off, and he does. Tip looking for the point from someone out of the out of play currently. So there was a player off the track when he went through, but I don't believe Tip hadn't passed any other hips, and he's got to pass a set of hips to get those off the track or out of play.
That sets us as 197 for your mom, 135 for Texas, 4:18 on the clock. And what has been such a well-played bout by both teams. I think back to, we've got a timeout on the track, Chip. I think back to that penalty review that we had where they were seeking the expulsion on the your mom blocker. The tide definitely turned after that. There was a little bit of an ebb on your mom in the last, I'd say, 8 or 9 minute mark. But the switch turned on, and it's been your mom ever since.
That's correct, and the way they've done it is by lead jams and some short points.
Yeah.
They've gotten 4, 5 points, 3 at one time, and they are eking their way. Again, as we know, if you don't get lead jammer, you're not ever going to win that, and they're getting that lead jam at the most important time, and they're scoring points. Even if it's in small numbers, it does add up, as we see at 196 to 135.
Well, and you mentioned the fact that there was a change in the jammer rotation. Just the addition of Frank Natso-Hatra has allowed them, and we'll get a word from the middle, and we'll be
Red
back
is
to that thought.
contesting the 1 point that was given to the black team in the last jam.
So, as we spoke earlier, the 1 point was awarded to Tip, who was calling for the player who was skating back to avoid a track. He was off the track in the back stretch. But from our vantage point, Tip had not passed another set of hips. Now, it was back many, many years ago in the old days, you had to pass all of the blockers to get those points for out play. They changed that rule a couple, 3, 4 years ago, and now is you just have to pass that first set of hips. So the question is, did he have another set of hips? If so, that would have been 2 points. So, feeling is that's probably going to get taken back, but we'll see.
We're about to find out.
The 1 point stands. They've used their official review.
Well, there you go.
And after this, I guess we'll go back and study the rules again. That point stands. Not sure how he got 1 point and not 2 in that scenario, but it's not for us to question. We'll clarify later, have a little discussion, and some cheers with the referees. We appreciate them very much. And here we go, Biggie, into the next jam.
Yes, we do. Mr. E-Machine with the star for your mom. Jamming for Texas is the enabler.
Larry Hopper back in there. Few minutes left, and they need him in prime time. Larry Hopper with a big push out, but he is going to get a penalty for blocking with the head. Looks like that might be the end of the day as Enabler gets through for a lead jam. And I says, meanwhile, Larry Hopper going to the bench. That looks like he has fouled out.
Your mom setting up a 3-1 on the backside. He gets broken up. Enabler on the outside. But your mom quickly swarms back to slow his progress.
Mr. E-Machine gets through. That means that Texas needs to get their points, because the E-Machine is not the lead jammer, so that's 4 to no points so far in this jam for Texas. Enabler looks a little bit spent, taking his sweet time to get back onto the track.
E-Machine picking up another 5 points as your mom trying to put the final touches on what will be a semifinal win here in Dallas, Texas.
5 more points, then matched by 4 for Texas. But that 4 for Texas at 139 still puts them a considerable distance back from your mom with just 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
Just to complete the thought from earlier, the addition of one jammer, Frank Natso-Hatra, to the your mom rotation just allowed for a little more breathing room for the rest of the skaters that were jamming for your mom. Rolomite is at, or was at, let's see, 80 points in terms of total points scored. Frank Natso-Hatra has been so effective. He's picked up 40 this half. That really have been key.
Yeah, more importantly, he's a 75% lead jam.
Correct.
And that's something that none of the other players on either of the teams have had. Closest was the Enabler with 67, so Frank Natso-Hatra has been very integral to what we've seen in the second period.
It's one of those more obvious adjustments that we saw from the first period and has certainly made its mark. Under 2 minutes now in this second period.
That's Echoberry Jam trying to get through. We've got a 3-wall brace up front. Echoberry gets knocked to the inside. Number 12, Nick Becker, gets sent to the penalty box for your mom.
Slowing down the pace is your mom.
Dick Diamond trying to create some havoc, but just seems to be forming part of the wall as the enabler gets knocked to the inside again, not able to get through. Meanwhile, Frank Natsuhatra stuck in the back of that 3-wall of Texas.
Again, Echoberry Jam forced to the infield. Frank Natsuhatra turns on the Jets and clears for lead jammer. A little bit of a rope-a-dope kind of approach here. He was hanging back just a bit, and then when no one was looking, he took off like a shot, picked up the lead jammer call.
And now just a little bit of a Sunday skate here as Echoberry tries to make a big apex jump, not successful, has to re-engage. Texas will have to regroup themselves to come back later today in that third-place spout. 143 to 210. 5 seconds on the jam, 20 seconds left on the period clock. 5 more points on the board for Texas.
Well played bout by both teams. Your mom taking over in the second period, and that has been the story.
Chuck Taylor gets sent out for an infraction.
Frank Natsuhatra drawn back.
Looks like Echoberry Jam is spent on his knees, and ladies and gentlemen, we are at an unofficial final.
Still an unofficial final, but for all intents and purposes, Chip Queso, we have seen your mom hang on and then control the second half of the second half.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talked a little bit at the tail end of the first half, and we talked about how it affected the injuries, and we talked about adjustments. And when it all came down to it, Texas was not able to maintain the lead they had. Your mom, I'm not going to say Texas allowed them back in, because your mom made the adjustment, brought in another jammer, did the things they needed to get in front of Texas. The difference was at the tail end, it kind of frustrated, it seems, Texas. They just did not make the adjustments or have the strategy they needed in order to get back and come out with a win.
The whistle has blown. It is an official final. So your mom, men's roller derby, has punched their ticket into the championship bout later this evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here in what was such a well-played bout. Fantastic strategic moves on both sides, and really it could have gone either way. Today, luck favored, or fortune favored, I should say, your mom.
Yeah, I'm sure that Texas, as well as many teams, would say, how can we get a 2 out of 3 format? But that's just not going to happen. It's one, and then you move on, or you move to the consolation. Texas does still have a chance to end the weekend with a win,
yes,
but that win is going to put them exactly where they came in, where they finished last year, and where they came in this year, third place. That is what got to be their goal. They have got to shift their mindset and say that has got to be the goal, because at this point there's no crying over spilt milk. You don't want to be fourth coming out of this. So a fear for whatever team between Bridgetown and Gatekeepers has to play them. We still have that bout to come. But your mom, what a testament to coming back, to making adjustments, to going from frazzled, a little bit of attitude issue, to keeping it intact and coming out with a win. Very strong game for your mom.
Indeed. As was mentioned, Bridgetown Menace will face the St. Louis Gatekeepers for the other spot in the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships final bout tonight. So stay with us here as we come to you from the NYTEX Sports Center in North Richland Hills, Texas, for more championship action on this second day of the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships. We'll be right back with more action.